Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good morning. Those of us who are here with us, or those of us who are here, thank you for coming. And those who are joining us on Zoom, hope you have a good time. So, Carrie Philip Peter, I'll be your moderator today. With me, I have three panelists, and they'll introduce themselves as we go on before we start. So, this is the first of This is the first of three panels, and it's in a photography mentorship and a 5-year retrospective. So with me, I have three mentees. They were the mentees of Young Photographer Award 2021, and they'll introduce themselves, starting with Mukiza Calvin.
Hi, hello, morning everyone. Mukiza Calvin Jr. is my name. I'm a photographer, commercial photographer, self-taught, and also do a little bit of storytelling, but venturing more into it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Vanessa Mulondo. I'm a student at Makerere University, and I study industrial and fine art, and I major in photography.
Hello everyone. Joshua Victor Semaganda is my name, and I'm an emerging documentary photographer and a sculptor, and I just recently graduated from the School of Visual Arts at Makerere University. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So, since 2016, the Uganda Press Photo Awards through the Young Photographer Award competition has been inviting a group of shortlisted photographers to an immersive and fast-paced mentorship program, which takes place in a period of seven months, and in collaboration with Canon and Central and North Africa. And with this panel, we'll be mainly focusing on a question about what is mentorship and what does mentorship contribute to young photographers today. This will be our discussion with the panelists. And to start with, it's a definition of mentorship. What is mentorship? So mentorship is a guidance offered by a professional or an experienced mentor, who in this case, since we're talking about photography mentorship, is an experienced photographer who has been in the field for quite a number of years, and he's guiding a mentee. So a mentee, these are the people we have here on the panel. So the first question would be addressed to our panelists, Mukiza, Joshua, and Vanessa. Could you describe the mentorship process in your own words, Mukiza?
Mentorship process in my own words. For me, mentorship process is more of how you relate yourself to the story you're trying to tell and how much time really you give it. Okay. And I believe, it takes a lot of time as well. It requires a lot of time. It's a process. It's just a process, a long process.
Vanessa?
Mentorship to me is having an idea and having someone who's probably skilled in that idea to guide you through building up that idea.
Okay. Joshua?
Yes. To me, mentorship is still having an idea and having an extra pair of eyes from someone who is quite experienced in the field.
Okay.
As you get guidance from them, and it's usually a long-term process, okay, whereby you keep revisiting the project, okay, on a daily basis.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for your responses. So, Joshua's point brings us to our next question for the panelists, which is, you worked on your project, and you talked about something to do with revisiting a project, coming back to it, and reworking it. And could you briefly tell us about your project? Because I believe you have projects up here exhibiting as a mentee. Could you briefly tell us about your project and how you embarked on it during the mentorship program.
Yeah, so my project is basically about herbalism. Yeah, and coming up with this project idea is because I had an attachment to herbalism growing up. And in this particular story, I was documenting a local herbalist who happens to be also an entertainer. So he's more of a creative person, but still carries on that herbalism part of it. And with the mentorship at first, it was really stressing because with photography, we want to approach people and get their views, but you almost get rejected by them and you just keep on going on to the next person. So it was really hard for me during the start because I had to reach out to different people who I would look at as potential collaborators for my project.
Okay.
But in the end, it was really a nice experience because I remember Stella told me you always be rejected. So you just keep on insisting on what you want and reaching out to those people.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Vanessa?
My project was about, the title of my project was A Passion for Nature. So I was documenting women who are involved in wildlife conservation. And these women were rangers working in Uganda Wildlife Authority, environmental scientists, snake handlers. And so I wanted to document that there are women out here who also work tirelessly to make sure that wildlife and their habitats and the environment is safe, especially from our human activities.
Okay, thank you. Mukiza?
Well, my project was about teenage pregnant mothers in the suburbs of Kalere. Well, I was inspired because I have a close relative who experienced the same thing. So I decided to take up the initiative to document girls that are teenage mothers at the age of 16 to 18. So I had so much passion for that. And also when I attended one, I had an assignment that I did in that side of work. So, and I saw this room, a room filled with a bunch of girls at the age of 13 and the breastfeeding. And I was just blown away. We don't see these things here in Kampala and we only see them on news. And I was like, wow, I'd love to know whether we have such a community here within Kampala that really has the same case as Wakiso in Namayumba district. So with the help of definitely with UPPA, with a mentorship, I decided to take on that project. And my project, I gave it a title, 1 in 4 girls, according to the statistics we looked up and the research I made. Luckily enough, I got to find a lot of girls in Kalere with the help of a social worker. She's called Rachel Montesi. She's in the audience as well. She has played a big part in this entire project of mine because I've been working with her and visiting. And I personally, I think everything needs to be given time. As you're doing your project, it requires time. And I believe that your first 10,000 photographs are your worst. And that really means that, you know, there is area of improvement. You get to know people more, you get to associate with people. And definitely at the end of it all, you have a story to tell.
Very interesting from all the panelists. So you can take time and look through their projects, see the photographs, and you can scan the barcode and read the entire story plus all the captions. So as you realize, most of the point out here is that they're talking about projects. We shall get to that when we hear from the director and the program coordinator, Stella and Anna. So before we go forward, handling projects requires equipment. That's very important. And with that, I would like to say that UPPA, as you know, is supported by Canon Central and North Africa. And as a mentee, it implies that you get a chance to have Canon equipment, for example, a tripod, a camera, and the different lenses for you to work on your project. And that's how the mentees are able to come up with the projects that they've worked on for the 7-month period. So I would like to know, what were you using before before you switched to Canon, and how was the shift from whatever you're using to Canon, whether Canon or Gear? Okay, sir.
Well, I would say that I started off as a smartphone photographer. My first very like pictures I took, a series of pictures was a party function of a friend, and I happened to use my smartphone. After that, 2018, under the UPPA Canon DSLR training, that's when I jumped into using the Canon camera, and I've been mostly shooting with Canon.
Okay.
I think I've tried the other brands, but I find Canon quite easy to use and photograph with. So it's a good camera to photograph with. You know what you want.
That's good. That's good. Vanessa?
So when I started university,
Okay.
like basically maybe in the first semester I was kind of using my phone,
Okay.
but I was lucky enough, my cousin had a Nikon,
Okay.
and so he was very generous and giving, and so I had it most of the time. So before this, I was using a Nikon camera.
Okay. How was the shift and the use of the camera? Was it really helpful?
Yeah, I had to learn because some of the knobs are in different places,
Okay.
and yeah, zooming in and everything, focusing. I actually found a challenge there at first.
Okay.
I thought that the lens couldn't focus,
Okay.
so I soon learned how to focus and everything, and
Okay.
now it feels quite like home using a Canon, and
Okay.
I actually love using it.
Joshua?
Yeah, for me personally, I started using a phone to shoot my photos, and I mostly used to shoot street photos. Whenever I would see a beautiful moment, I'll use my phone to take the photograph.
Okay.
Then surprisingly, the first camera I bought a film camera,
Okay.
using film because I wanted to get much into that practical process, and this was because of the influence of my lecturer, Madam Seba, and she always pushed us to see the beauty in the film, so I wanted to have my personal experience with it.
Okay.
And to go on the side of the digital, I can't specify on the brand because all the time I wanted to do good quality work. I would reach out to people and hire from them cameras, but sometimes you'd get a Sony, sometimes you get a Nikon, a Canon.
Yeah.
But with the programs of UPPA in which I happen to have enrolled in,
Okay.
the workshops, I was able to be with the Canon for quite long, and
Okay.
this helped me gain more experience
Okay.
when shooting. And yeah, Canon is really good, and the way it treats the color, I really like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. But one thing I really point out is that all the people who are talking, all that talked about is that they started off shooting with their smartphones, which means that you cannot be limited to producing work, to producing projects with just like you. Because the people out there who are like, I need to first get a camera, you can start small, you can submit, and through those submissions, you can get a chance to win something anytime submissions are open. So before I go forward, I would like to pose a question to the UPPA director and the UPPA coordinator, programs coordinator, about projects. And because I would like to ask this because people out there would like to know what kind of projects how should they handle their projects when they're submitting for UPPA? What does YPA look out for?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Anna and I'm the director of the Uganda Press Photo Award. Since 2016, we've been running this Young Photographer Award, and it's a competition for young photographers between 21 and 28 years old. And apart from the camera that the person can win, we also offer this mentorship program that this guy has participated in this year. So the way it works, you submit let's say in 2021, and then the mentorship program runs in 2022, and then in the end there's an exhibition. So you can see all the projects on this site already exhibited. Yes, so what we ask people to submit is a proposal of a project they would like to realize, a portfolio, as well as a motivation letter. And so what we're really looking at is potential and how a person thinks about photography and documentary photography and all that. We don't really look at already formed photographers who already know how to take pictures or who already have very formed practice, let's say. So even if you only take pictures on the phone or, you're not really, you don't even have your own camera. So the way they were describing it, like the mentorship is to give you this sort of like a push jump towards your career. So we don't really look for people who can submit like already finished projects or anything like that. It's just to see how you think visually, and what would you like to document, or what kind of work or what kind of story would you like to work on during the mentorship. Now, it was always very sort of documentary oriented, but also already since this year, we are seeing that there's a lot of people who are more interested in, let's say, more conceptual photography or like mixing photography with other media. So that's also allowed. It doesn't necessarily have to be just kind of super straight up documentary where you do the kind of story like Calvin, for example, or Joshua. Actually, all of them really did this year, but during that mentorship, we kind of noticed that sometimes they would like to maybe experiment with other things. So we are also open to that. Yeah, and then basically the jury meets, we review the submissions, we read through your proposals and through the letters, and then that's how we select the winners. And then the winner gets the camera, and everybody gets some small gifts like hard drives or backpacks and whatever, like depending on the year. And then everybody joins the mentorship. I mean, of course, if you want to, because some people didn't join even though they won in the YPA in the past.
Do you think that the accessibility to the equipment that UPPA under the YPA mentorship program impact the way you developed your project, and how did you go about it? Joshua?
Yeah, in regards to the availability of the equipment, yeah, through the mentorship, this gave me more time to get comfortable with the DSLR camera and navigate through it, get to know the different settings and how they work. And it also, in the long run, helps me to develop the way I see an image before taking it. Yeah.
All right, Vanessa?
Having this equipment, one thing I didn't have to go around searching for or borrowing other equipment. So it gave me time to process how I should go about my project and techniques that I can use while documenting.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, equipment is very key and necessary. I mean, if UPPA did not provide or it had not provide equipment to us, definitely it will be very strange for us running around and try to source out equipment from other photographers. At the same time, they also have gigs. So for them providing equipment is really important, and it has helped us so much that you have the equipment on you, so you have time to actually go out in the field, document the people you're working with, and shoot a story at your own time when you're not pressured and you don't have external pressure from other people that probably you've rented a camera from.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think which is very important to have personal equipment for such stories.
Yeah, welcome back from that break. And my name is Irene Monica, and I'll be taking us through this next session. As we prepare ourselves, this is mainly in direction of the idea about mentorship. And most of us here, we are fortunate to have gone through such a process, but then it has so much that comes with it. And yeah, would like to share the both sides of the story of what comes with mentorship and its impact in our society. And yeah, as So yes, we have our panelists with us here. Some who have been mentors and others mentees, and we shall be sharing to have a perception from both parties. So yeah, let's have a moment to hear from each of them and who they are. Yeah, could start with Giovanni.
Was that a question? Good morning, everyone. My name is Giovanni Okot. I am a commercial travel and documentary photographer, and I have been one of the mentors. Thank you for now.
Yes, hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Katende. I'm a freelance documentary photographer and somewhat commercial, but mostly documentary. I was a part of the mentorship program in 2018. Yeah, thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Stewart Tibaweso. I'm a documentary photographer. I was a mentee in 2018.
Okay, thank you very much. For anyone asking yourself what this mentorship program is, it's the Uganda Press Photo Award Mentorship, and it's normally availed to those who go through the Young Photographers Award. And yeah, and some people who are interested and they apply for it. So because you have entered this as a young photographer, you're given an opportunity to now interact with photographers who are already where you would want to be or know so much more, and it sort of helps you to enroll into becoming a professional photographer. I would identify it as. So one of the questions that I have is, as participants in your different categories, what was your experience in this mentorship, Stuart?
The experience was amazing. I should say it's one of those things that, you know, tunes you a bit and kind of puts you in line and helps you to find that style, discover yourself and where you want to be and what your aspirations for in terms of your career. So the experience was good and sometimes bad, but of course the bad, you know, there's always positive stuff that comes from the bad because it teaches you to be solid and taking feedback and stuff like that. So my experience was, I think it was nice in the end.
Okay, thank you very much. That's from a mentee. Maybe we could have a word from the mentor side. What has been your experience as a mentor through these programs?
I have remotely been mentoring a couple of photographers, but I had not been part of a mentorship program like this one before. This one was more structured. It was more, I would say, demanding. It was demanding on my time. Because I travel a lot, sometimes we would have Zoom meetings and the network drops and I miss out on a number of things. It was demanding on my knowledge. I'm a self-taught photographer. So that means that whatever I know, I have basically just learned it or read about it somewhere. So it was demanding on my knowledge in the sense that, what am I telling my mentee? Is it the right thing or is it juakali? So I had to make sure that I am not giving my mentee poison. Yeah. So it was demanding on my knowledge in that sense. Above all, it was exciting. I had a lot of fun getting to know the different mentees besides just my mentee. I had a lot of fun whenever we had review meetings, and we shared knowledge. So besides being fun, I was also able to gain some knowledge. It is an experience that I honestly want to live through again. So in short, it was exciting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, maybe to Andrew, Stuart talked about like it's both good and bad because it comes with its challenges and everything. Could you share with us how you as a mentee address some of those challenges and what are some of those in the first place? Yeah. Thank you.
Well, the challenges, the good and the bad. I'll start with my experience with the first mentorship program. It was my first well-structured sort of like mentorship. Of course, I'd gone through mentorships, but these are like one-on-one with the photographers who are within my circles. And I was at a point where I had not yet discovered myself on what I wanted to do. So I thought that whoever knows how to use a camera is a good photographer. And later on, I realized that that's not it. Being a photographer is way beyond you being able to use your camera. And that kind of like eliminated all my early mentors in life. I was mentored by a food photographer from the Netherlands who publishes magazines. So he taught me a lot of lighting and settings and smoke and, and then I was mentored by a wedding photographer. And then UPPA came along. And I'm a big fan of Nat Geo. So that's where I developed my love for documentary. And my first job was with an NGO. So I go into the mentorship program with this thing of, I know, I'm working with these rich photographers, so I'm good. And then I get there and I didn't see it coming. I was bombarded with all this kind of knowledge that I had. I mean, I can't say it's their fault, but I think they are right in their own way. That up to now, my food photographer who taught me does not know some of the photographers I talk about because he's in a whole different niche. And through the mentorship, my eyes were open to realize that just like medicine, just like the medicine profession, in the same way, photography has its own different disciplines. And you need to master a discipline and be good at it, but you cannot be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, that's true.
So the good thing about that is that I realized early enough in my career. The bad thing was that I was not ready to receive such a sharp turn in my life. When you used to doing things like this, and then someone is telling you you're supposed to do them like this, and you have your own personal justifications as to why you shouldn't do them that way. I think the worst thing about the mentorship was amazing, 101. But the worst thing about it and my worst experience in the mentorship was the relationship that I developed with one of the mentors. Yeah, Stu was laughing because he's aware about it. And that was the worst thing. Later on, we're going to discuss probably about mentors and how I'm a very slow person and I don't like pressure and stuff, personality and stuff like that. So I kind of clashed with my mentor, one of the mentors, and it was not good. But I think that's the only bad experience.
First, share with us the challenges that you experienced during the mentorship and how did you address that? And did you later discover why that was? Like, how did you like address it? Because in the end, you had to continue the story. And
the first challenge is going to be balancing time. Because if you do photography 24/7, like we do, there is no way you're going to cancel out on a client because you have to go back to a mentorship. And clients don't want to hear that stuff. They're not going to postpone their event because for you can't make it. And of course, early in our careers, we're trying so hard to impress our clients. So you want to make sure that you're present when you're needed. But then you have mentorship as well, which you know deep within you that it is very important to you and your growth as a photographer. So you're torn between choosing one of the two. For most, because the mentorship program lasted about 5 months or 6, and I lost a couple of clients along the way because I couldn't make it to their assignments. I would deliver late, and then and then your mentor sometimes is maybe not understanding. You tell them I can't make it, and I tell you, I put up time to meet you, and you're not showing up. So then you feel guilty. You're like, okay, this guy is sacrificing time to teach me, and then I'm out here chasing the bag, So you're there, and then the other problem would be, I think, personal. And I think so many mentors have faced this, is that you struggle with yourself, with what you know and what you are being taught. And that up to now, I'm grateful for that, because it would take me about 10 or 15 years to change what I had learned for the past 5 years, and they changed it in a space of 5 months. So I think that was the biggest struggle, that the psychological struggle of, like, guy, you meet your mentor and on a daily is telling you what you're doing is wrong. You're supposed to do this. This is wrong. You're supposed to do this. So it's not really a challenge, but it will be an internal battle for so many people who go for actual mentorships, not the friendly kind of mentorship, or mentorship of someone who is actually willing to see you grow. And they are hell bent on, they have 5 months to transform the Andrew that they've met, and they have 5 months and they want to see a different Andrew at the end of the 5 months. They're going to push you, and it may not settle well with you, but you need to understand what they are doing. Yeah. So I think that was my biggest.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, maybe if anyone is asking themselves, like, how come they're always telling you to change this and change that? Like, most of us, when we are studying photography, let me say through YouTube or other platforms, there is a bit of focus on the technical aspect, like what machinery should I use? He was talking about lighting, how his first mentor taught him about lighting and how to have cinematic shots and everything. And then but then through this mentorship, you're being like told to actually add spirit to your body of work, because sometimes you can have these amazing photos, but they may not be saying anything. And then now through this mentorship, you actually get to learn, how do I tell stories using my photographs? How do I actually impact life? And how does it go from just being a well-edited photo that has, all the right lighting and everything, and to actually coming to what we are watching, what we are seeing on all these walls. So that change is what he's trying to share with us. And maybe away from the bad things, like, I would like us briefly to share what our biggest takes were from our mentorships. Maybe we'll start with Stuart, Jill, then Andrew. Briefly. Thank you.
I think personally, there was a lot to take in. But I think the whole experience was just, learning and unlearning things and picking up different things and throwing away the rest and stuff. But I think one of the things I learned the most, especially because of the mentor that I was assigned to, is communication and keeping time and stuff like that. I had very crazy challenges with communication. I wasn't good at reading emails. I wasn't good at responding and stuff. And also the way I was responding or writing the emails was a bit weird, because my mentor
wanted to wanted me to respond or talk to him in a very very respectful way, very professional way, like, hi, this I'm here in regards to blah 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 and stuff like that. So it kind of taught me how to, be professional in that sense and communicate. Sorry. Communicate. Sorry. Yeah. Communicate and respond effectively and efficiently. So one of my biggest takes was communication. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to respond and be professional in that regard. But also that kind of transformed into my work and the people that I do work for. I also think.
Yeah, how about photographically? Yes. Other than professionally, yes. Your biggest take.
Photographically, I think that's when I discovered that I need to probably quit the job that I was doing. Because I was working somewhere and I realized I was doing less of what I wanted to do. And so the mentorship helped me discover that. It took time. It didn't happen right in the mentorship period, but it helped me discover that I need to quit that job and focus on the kind of work that I want to do. So it helped me pick up a style and kind of learn more on, the storytelling aspects. How do you tell a story? How do you research? How do you do a long-term project? I'm quite interested in long-term storytelling, so I had to learn how to do long-form stories and all the things that come around it.
Okay, thank you very much. We shall have one from Giovanni.
Is that the biggest take from the? Okay.
Yes.
I think my biggest take is from a mentor perspective is availing time, being available for your mentee. The time I signed up for this, I think at that time, the COVID situation was still sketchy. There was not a lot going on. And because I was also working from home and there was not a lot of travel, I had a lot of time on my hands because I had no work since travel was on hold. So I thought I'll have time. And then when milk and bread runs out at home, then you realize you need to get some work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I start getting back into work, and then also mentee is here, and I'm like miles away, and then we can't look at the pictures, and then the internet is crappy, and then she doesn't have data or something. So many things. So my biggest take is that there's a need as a mentor to intentionally create time, plan it and create it, or create it and plan it. No, plan it and create it, because then you end up being an absentee mentor. So I think that was my biggest take. I don't know if it's a plus or a minus, but yeah.
It's a very big plus.
Yeah.
As your mentee. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, the biggest take for me was, I think I have like two. There's one that has really benefited my career in documentary photography, and it's that you need to research about other photographers. You need to pick inspiration from as many photographers as you can. And I picked this up in a very weird way. Just a flashback, during the mentorship, they gave us a write-up and it had this guy called Henry Cartier-Bresson. And I never heard of him because remember, I was mentored.
I don't think I was out of
I
it.
beg your pardon.
He's
Yes.
called Henry Cartier-Bresson. He's a okay. So we have to read these write-ups, and I didn't bother to look him up on the internet. But because the name is French, it sounded like it was a lady. So I come confidently to present to my mentors. And I'm like, you see, this lady Henry, she I'm like and I had never read not a single article about him. Of course, I was bashed in that session, but I went home and I did as much research as I could about him, to the point that I've actually bought some of his books, and I've picked it up as a habit to always, when I see something as simple as one post from a photographer, I follow it, I pull that string, I follow it, go to his website, see the stories that he has done, read, make sure you read. Don't just look at pictures. You read, you get the concept. You're like, okay. So it has helped me develop stories as well. I see how they brand themselves. I follow them on social media. I follow them everywhere. I mean, when they have exhibitions, I look at what they exhibited. So for me, at that point, I realized there's always someone better. There's always someone who knows more than you. You can't know it all. Like even now, the more I read, like last night, I discovered there's another lady, thing called Lindsay Adario. Like I've been at this for about 3 years, but every week I realize there's another photojournalist who's better than one I knew the week before. So following that thread is kind of helping me grow like my muscle memory at looking at their pictures. It's helping me grow how I write my write-ups, how I brand myself as a photographer. And that thing was merely sparked off by not knowing who a photographer is, you know? And when we go back in our circles, of course, because they think being a photographer is all about taking good pictures, they will never let you grow, because you take a nice picture and they will tell you, oh, you're good, man. You're the best photographer I know. Of course, they're the best they know, but because they do not know that there are others.
Yeah.
So it's upon you to know those that are better than you and those that came before you. So that was my biggest take to this day. I mean, every time I research about photographers, I'm like, oh, I wish these guys in the mentorship knew about so and so. I wish they knew about so and so, because even they still read books. The mentors, I mean, you've heard from Giovanni here, they still read books. So I mean, and then also getting tear sheets, taking pictures in certain books, and because you can read out an article, a 4-page article, and you pick like 2 photographers' names from there. Get the names, Google them, look them up. The second take home that is really important is it helped me deal with other mentorships that came after. This mentorship was kind of like the most, to me, was the most uptight. It was the most intense. So all the mentorships that have come after that are really just
Like they all go away.
that's so easy for me
Yes.
to deal with.
Yeah.
So it being my first mentorship and being sort of like the hardest, it kind of paved way for me to be able to handle other mentorship. And I also go there with a certain expectation. When you're a mentee, you also need to understand that in most cases, mentors are not teachers, and they are just people that are simply good at their craft. If it was like that whoever is the best at what they do should be the teacher, then I think the people who were smartest in our classes would be the ones to teach our kids. But it's not like that. It's not that the smartest person is the one supposed to teach. Because even if you're the smartest, you still have to go to teachers' college and you learn how to deal with people, how to understand your students. So you need to understand that. And I figured that because I had this strong thing in me that, oh man, these guys are rude. These guys. But then I had to get my shit together and console myself. And in that consolation, I grew with how I deal with people. Even when you meet clients who speak like a rude mentor to you, and you're like, how do I handle this one? You're like, okay, no. So I know how to deal with certain people because of the mentorship.
Okay.
So I appreciate UPPA that their mentorship is not just about photography and giving you knowledge. It also helps you grow career-wise and your business and
Yes,
how you
yes, I
brand
agree.
yourself on social media. There's something those guys told us to delete. You have your
Sorry
Instagram
about
page
that. Yes.
and you're chilling at Latitude by the pool with the lemonade, and you put it on your Instagram, and then tomorrow you're on assignment, and then so you have this category of, and then clients are going to ask you for your Instagram page, and then they're seeing you chilling with, so my mentor, they ask all of us actually, like, man, if this is your professional page, keep it professional. If you need another page for your wahala, open up another one. But we need a proper, and it has really paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. I agree because I remember also after attending we had like a basic training in photography, and it was after that time that they told us if you're really serious about your photography, then you should actually probably start by opening up a page for it. Well, and it's totally true because like sometimes you have a lot going on in your own life, but then if I want to understand you as a photographer, then I can't like get all that from everything else. So yeah, that's like a really big one. I really appreciate that. And it's really interesting because the good thing, we were all like photographers before we came into this mentorship. And like some of you have shared, you had the idea that I know what to do. I know how to take a good photograph. Then you come to this mentorship and you are like you realize that there is so much else that I need to know. And I've had a chance to interact with like a few photographers, like yeah, and I'm asking them what's your opinion about actually, or why haven't you ever participated into the mentorship? Because like you're a photographer professionally, and I feel like this is something that would add so much to you. And there are always those comments of, nah, I already know. Those people are going to tell me I'm not good enough, but and yet like for those of us who have experienced this, it's always from a constructive place. It's never from a place of distraction. So what would you tell like a photographer who's out there who like has not participated in this or has the idea that having the best edit is what photography is? What would you say to them, Stuart?
I think I would tell them to be open-minded, be ready to get negative criticism and negative feedback. I mean, obviously, UX positive will always make you comfortable, but like expect negative criticism or negative feedback, and just be willing to learn, be willing to change, and adopt new things. Honestly, I was so bad, so bad on speaking about my work, but I didn't like to, speak in public and stuff like that. But I remember I used to struggle a lot during the presentations. Like we had to introduce ourselves and everyone's just looking at you like, okay, say more. And they're quiet and they're not even like giving you tips on what to say. And everyone is just looking at you. And like my colleagues, they are just laughing on the side. So it was that kind of thing. And I'm like, hi, my name is Stuart, and that's it. And everyone is quiet. And you have to say more. You have to speak about your work. You have to speak about what inspires you. You have to speak about where you want to see your project or what kind of story. So I think I'll just say be open-minded, be willing to learn new things, adopt new things, but also just stay focused with your mind, like where you want to see yourself, because sometimes you can be misled. I mean, they're your mentors, they are professional, they have experience, but you also know where you want to be. So because there's so many things that I was told, and I'm like, For real? Like, I'm not sure I want to do that. You get, so you take in all that feedback and find what works best for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, that's like really true because, like Andrew was saying, when you come onto this, like these mentors are not teachers. They're also they encourage us to have, because like as teachers throughout our school history, you're used to just taking instruction, do this, do that, and you're aiming to pleasing the teacher because only when you have fully followed their instruction is when you're going to pass the exam. I mean, but then here is a situation where you have to interact and actually share your opinion, like what your perception of what they say. Like you were saying, well, I as a mentor, they could share with you something, and you also have like to share what you think about it. It's not a situation of, okay, he has said this or she has said this, then that's what I should take. So it's a very interactive relationship, mentee mentorship, mentors. And for some, if you observe, like you as the mentee, you have to like invest your own, like you have to invest yourself in this because they're not going to run after you. They're not going to, no one is going to punish you for refusing to grow your story. You can, yeah. So like it's very interactive and it's very, so if you come onto this, like you don't have to have that mindset of whatever they say goes, but as much as they are here to help you discover yourself and for you to grow into who you aspire to be rather than telling you who you should be. So yeah, I thought I should add that to clarify. And yeah, to like the mentor, there are some people who are going to join the mentorship program this year. Next year? Yes, next year. What would you what would you advise them? Because like they've had from our experiences, but what are some of those things that you would extend to them to actually mark out and to have in mind as they come to reduce on like that? Sure, they come. Yes.
One of the things that I had to be patient with were questions seeking affirmation that you've taken a good picture. Every time that they show you go for a review and like there's that yearning to hear the mentor say, wow, you've done well. Wow, you've done well. Yeah, so towards the end, as the mentorship period was concluding, I was very happy because one of the things I had a difficult time was to resist from saying, wow, good picture, you've done well, good job. You know, this is what, do it like this. So I would dodge the questions by asking another question. Yeah. A thought-provoking question to get them to think about their picture, why they chose to shoot the way they shot. And I was happy that the questions were answered towards the end. That all the questions that dodged, they answered themselves towards the end. So, what am I trying to say? All I'm trying to say is that be ready to be transformed. It's a period of transformation, self-discovery. You hear people say, discover your style. Andrew was right to say that you come with this perception of you do things the way you learned them, but come with an open mind to confirm that the way you're doing it is the way you want to continue doing it. Andrew says he was first mentored by a food photographer. For a very long time, I shot weddings until I realized I actually don't like shooting weddings. So I discovered that by shooting so many weddings that I now knew almost every in church. I knew what comes next without even looking at the program. You find that you've been to all the hotels and you know how the food tastes in the different hotels just from shooting weddings. So yeah, for those who are yet to join, come with an open mind, ready to discover yourself or to confirm what you already know. I think that is what I can say briefly.
Thank you very much. And I can affirm that very much because I was the one asking the questions. Yeah, and for me, one of the biggest things that happened to me as a photographer in UPPA was that it affirmed to me that, okay, now you can call yourself a photographer. Because before then, I just had this whole, well, I'm learning photography and everything. But then after winning the Young Photographers Award last year, then I kind of felt like, okay, if like these people who have, like when we look at this work, like it's really amazing work. And I'm like, if these people could see that my work was worth it, then probably I need to stop doubting myself as a photographer and actually own it that I'm a photographer. But then now during the mentorship, I don't think the idea that I'm not yet fully a photographer had gone away. And I just had like, because my background, well, yeah, I'm still studying architecture right now. And I always felt like I bring forward my like architecture side more. And so when I came to this mentorship, I had the idea that, okay, I'm going to meet these photographers. They're going to help me identify who I am as a photographer. And yet, like, we have address, like, they are just to help you to discover yourself. So I had all these questions. Is this okay? Is this right? Is this how they do it in photography? And yeah, but then like through constantly going out there into the field and like Stuart was saying, you have to be so open-minded, so positive towards like you're going to receive like I'll call it positive criticism towards your work because it's given to you from a place of constructive criticism. Yes, so hard as it has you have received it, the willingness to actually go back and come out like challenge your comfort zone helped me to discover myself as a photographer. I'm still on that journey, but at least right now I could I could actually tell a story. And yet initially I always needed this person I identify as a real photographer to tell me that your story is actually like coming through. So it was a good thing that the dodging of questions happened because then I think when you find those answers on your own through your journey, then it's like easier for you to own them up than when someone has just told it to you. So yeah, open-minded and strength of heart and willingness to challenge your comfort zone are some of the things that I would add to whoever is going to join this mentorship program. Yes, Kyle.
So the first question is addressed to the past mentors. As a mentor, I would like to ask about product from Wilbowers, one of the mentors. As a mentor, I would like to ask about production and output. I've always struggled to help my mentees to make enough work until very close to the deadline. How do previous participants feel about the rates of production during the mentorship, and what can be done better? What can be done better to help young photographers to produce and experiment more?
Is that to the mentees?
Yeah, to the first mentees.
Oh, past mentees.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am one of them, so I'll take a minute to answer that. And one thing that has really happened to the influence on my work is having to learn the professionalism aspect of how to deal with things, because as a creative, you're always, especially if you were doing this, like, as a creative, you have your processes. Sometimes you hear creatives talking about things like the zone. I'm not in the zone, I can't create and everything. But then, like, when you are working with people who have actually offered you their time, and they are willing to help you grow to become a better person, then you have to learn how to come out of that and deliver even when you think that this is not perfect, because that was one of the things that used to happen. I was always scared. I always felt like this wasn't good enough, this wasn't good enough, but you have to turn up. And I still struggle. I can't say that I have arrived at that place, but I'm still trying to learn how to actually offer my best version to these people, because they're offering their best version to you too. So it's only respectful to do the same. Even though, like, sometimes the background, like, your nerves are all working up and you're scared and you're like, okay, what are they going to think when I give this and that? But being respectful and yeah, these are some of the challenges that I've had personally. Communication, like Stuart talked about it. You receive an email and then you're like, I'll answer it back and everything, but my body of work is not yet fully built. So I'll answer when the body is built. But then, like, actually knowing that even when you feel like you still have a lot to do with your work, you should communicate that. Like, I feel like personally, that's how I was able to even do some of the work, because it reached a point during the COVID time and I could not go to my sites of choice. But then, because you know that there are sessions still going to happen, you have to actually present. I had to figure out, how do I continue to tell my story even when the subjects that I was hoping were going to help me do this are out of reach. So you look around and that's when, like, yeah, you look in your neighborhood and then there are all these buildings that you have never paid attention to because you're always looking at, like, the glamorous ones. So I think, I don't know if, like, I've really answered it, but for me, it's how to have a respectful relationship and communicate if you're not able to deliver. And yeah, you won't be caned. So yeah. But then, like, if you commit to something, actually create time for it. Don't just ghost. Like, you made a commitment to this, but you don't say anything. It's a process, and personally, that's one way I feel my production has improved greatly, because yeah, at least now, even when things are not to what I think should be, at least I'm still able to present it. Then you get feedback. So that's how it has happened. It's still growing, I can't say, but yeah.
Just to respond to Will's question about output, the best way that actually Will was my mentor and he helped me a lot with that is you need to shoot a lot. Often we feel like when you go to the field and you come, like, in a space like this and you have to take a picture, you take 3 really nice shots and you're like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm done. Because you think you got it. But you would bring those shots to Will and he will tell you, I don't have enough to work with. When you go out in the field, shoot a lot. Shoot a lot. And he asked if UPPA could improve it in any way, but I think it's just to help people realize that doing a photo story is not about getting 10 really amazing pictures. It is more about getting 1,000 images that fully encompass this particular subject. And then the 10 are just going to stand representative of the thousands that you took. Because he said in the mentorship, they said one thing, that you could show him one picture and he will look at it and say, I know you didn't shoot enough just by looking at one shot. And he'll be like, I know, because you've showed me that is your best picture. I know it. that you didn't shoot enough, you didn't work this story enough. So I feel like the mentees that come next year, or even the ones that are going to leave and do their own professional work, that needs to sink in. You need to shoot a lot, because now I've moved that to my professional career as well. You have clients who send you a brief and they need 5 pictures. The old me would preferably go there and stage these 5 pictures and get really nice pictures and leave the set. But I'll do 2,000 pictures when I need just 5. And it helps, because the client sometimes needs revisions or what. And even with developing stories, it helps. I was doing a story, my picture in daily life, UPPA this year. I mentioned during the lockdown in one of the Zoom calls that I'm going to do a story, an environmental story on charcoal burning and stuff like that. So that's when shooting enough came in handy. Is that I wanted to do charcoal burning, but I was just not going to just focus on one thing. I made sure I cover all aspects of it. I mean, where do they get this charcoal from? Where is the forest where these trees are grown? When the charcoal is made, who sells this charcoal? Whom do they sell it to? Like, I do an all-round shoot. And then when I'm doing the sequencing and selecting, then I have enough to work with. It also helps me as a photographer have enough to work with. And when someone sees that one picture, they'll be like, "Ah, man, this guy is good. He woke up and took a nice shot." Man, I had to do like 4,000 shots to get. So I think the only way we can improve it is that letting that sink into people's minds, that there is no such thing as, okay, I've read books where they say Henry Cartier-Bresson would wait for the decisive moment. You sit there, you wait for the amazing shot, and you do one click and you go home. Man, that's Hollywood. Like, no, man. Like, you need to take 1,000 and pick that one shot, and let us see that one shot. Yeah, that's what I think. How to improve output. Yeah.
We'll hear from Stuart.
It's about the output, right? I think for me, the output in regards to selecting and editing was, I think, one of the most important things for me. And I think Frederick Noy was really good at that. Like, developing a narrative from your story, which picture introduces your story, which picture comes in the middle, which picture comes last, which picture do you throw out, and stuff like that. And I think for me, that was the most important. And also just like, you create work, but then like how you present it, especially when it comes to like things like aspect ratio. Like, I had issues with my photos. Aspect ratio was, every photo had like its own aspect ratio. There were 2x3s, 3x4s, 16:1. So the editing process was hectic. It was crazy, man. I had issues with Anna, Stella. But I think that's because I had to learn that. If it's 3x2, keep it at that. Because when you're presenting your work on the walls and stuff, it has to like look like organized, and so the output was really just learning how to create a narrative with the work that you've created. I think that's the most important thing in like documentary photography. How do you say that this is I'm going to go with this picture as the one that introduces my story, and you look at all the things around it. Why is it because of the details in it and all that stuff? So yeah.
Okay.
Just a plus on that. There's something that Will mentioned. Still, it goes within the output issue. I was doing a photo story at Kalere, and I was very, can I say, lazy, because I thought, the Kalere market looks amazing. It has that urban feel. I can just, make free time around afternoon and go there and take a few nice photos and go home, or I can go there at 3 and then I shoot up to 4 and have my 1,000 photos, because he wants quantity. And then he looks at the photos and he's like, man, the photos that you want, you need to go there at 5 a.m. I'm like, you know, I didn't see it then. I was like, maybe this guy is just a perfectionist or something. And then he took time out of his way to go with me to Kalera Market. And I saw how he talks to the lady, my subject. He had a longer conversation with my subject than I had done in 2 weeks. You know? And I was like, okay, what's this guy talking about? You know, and then he sits there, he thinks, he crosses the road, he takes. So then I realized, sometimes awesome photos are not done by you merely availing time. It's the extra effort that you put in. So I felt bad waking up at 5 to get I had to do a border at 5. I had to get the borders guy, his number the day before, then go there at 5. Wait, I didn't see it then. But now in my career, when I do extra, because when clients hire you, they hire you for your knowledge, not because you have a camera. Clients have the money to buy their own cameras, but they hire you because you have the knowledge. So sometimes you can look at a client brief and you're like, okay, they want this shot. I would do it in my comfort. I'm like, I'll travel Monday, shoot Monday afternoon, travel back. But I take it upon myself because of that skill and the extra effort that I learned in the mentorship that much as they want a shot, try to do it at different times of the day, and deliver a better product, shoot it in the morning, have lunch, shoot it in the evening, wait, try it at night, maybe, that flexibility of, I've not yet got it. It doesn't hurt if I have 10 pictures of the same subject at different times of the day. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
So
sure. Yeah.
I feel like that extra effort is also something that can help us with our output. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Yes, please.
Mazima has 2 questions. One for Stuart. What inspired him into documentary photography, and how does he position himself to get clients or assignments to pay his bill?
What inspired me? That's always something hard to. But I think right when I joined art school, I had always wanted to tell stories of people, tell stories of social issues and stuff. So I think somehow it's something that you can best tell using documentary photography. And then I went on and on to, discover myself more and learn more. So I think it really comes from, my background and how I was raised and stuff, just wanting to tell stories of social issues, and I'm doing a lot of stories on gender issues and marginalized people. So that's, I think, where I get my inspiration. And in terms of clients, I'm not really a client person. I don't know where Andrew gets the work. You need to send some stuff my way, man. Yeah, I don't usually get a lot of clients. I don't know why, but yeah, I'm very much, I have a few clients that I work with who believe in what I do, and yeah, I'm really mostly into long-term stuff. So when you find a client who is interested in long-term stuff, and then what I'm doing a lot these days is doing a lot of grant writing and pitching to different organizations, to pick up stories, because I'm very intentional with the work that I do, and I want it to, create impact and kind of go to the right people. So, yeah, I think clients really Andrew to
Andrew, please share with us.
I think Giovanni should answer that, but I'll just speak from my perspective. Finding work. First on my list is still a skill. The skill I told you at the start is that you need to know photographers. And this has helped me get me where I am right now. Is I can list you 10 photographers, documentary photographers in this country that you've never heard of. They don't have social media, but they work for the biggest organization. And they have a lot of work. And any photographer would justify that there's a point in your career where you reach and you have more work than you can take. Like we all reach that point where you've grown and you don't care losing a few clients because you have those that you really need. So I feel like what has helped me a lot is when I see a picture, I see, say, World Food Program posted a picture and this is in Uganda. I'm like, I look down, I'm like, who's this guy? There's a guy called James Mbiri. I look him up. I'm like, okay, I need to know where he is. I mean, I schedule up a meeting, go talk to him, discuss, show him my work. Yeah, and I must say in the last lockdown, I got more work from other photographers than by myself. Because James would call you like, man, I'm in Kitgum. There's this organization. Could you just go probably meet them and see and show them the portfolio that you showed me? It was really nice, you know? Man, I can't handle, their work is stressing, you know? And for me, it falls right within my comfort zone because I like shooting kids and stuff like that and humanitarian stuff. And through that socializing and getting to know photographers, and you can learn something from everyone. So it is very easy to approach Stuart and tell him, hey, Stuart, I love your work. My name is Andrew. You can have a look at my work. I do this kind of work. So in case you have extra assignments, please pass them my way, or, you know? So I've gotten work through that and then through my website. And also one thing that we need to do is study the business environment in Kampala.
Yes,
it's quite not straight, but you need to spare some time and understand the people who get the jobs, where do they get them from and how do they get them? And you realize it's not a straight line. It's like maybe sometimes you have to bid, sometimes you have to send proposals, sometimes you have to approach the communications guy. Sometimes you need to scout clients yourself. Sometimes clients don't know what they want. Like this organization is posting stories and on their website, they have stories of our program. And then they have mobile pictures with the word down there, Phantom 4X, you know? And you're like, these guys need my service, you know? Approach the communications person and you're like, okay, we do A, B, and C. What you're trying to do here, we can do professionally. I mean, you need to be aggressive because, the market is competitive. So don't think that just learning how to take nice pictures and editing is going to get you the jobs. You also need to be a businessman. I see a lot on Twitter. Even business coaches, they always say that most times creatives are not businessmen. So if you really want to get work a lot, you need to try as hard as possible to be a creative and a businessman at the same time. Otherwise, you'll starve. Yeah.
Yeah. I must say this. I think the reason we have conversations of clients and staff and commissions is because of money, right? Money is like,
Yes.
we need money.
Yes.
But I think it also comes to who you are as a person. I think as young photographers, we're always like, man, I need work, because you want to make money and probably buy a camera and buy, equipment and stuff. But I think one of the experiences I've had is the thing with clients is you don't get to go all out. Yeah. Like you get an assignment from an NGO and they want to work a certain way, which is probably you feel like it's not your code of conduct. So I think as young photographers, we need to adopt that code of conduct. And this is something you can explore in your personal work. So I would say do a lot of personal projects. You can do the client stuff, but don't let that also depend. Like I said, some people want the money and some people are really intentional with the work they do. So do a lot more personal projects, invest in your personal work, and I mean, the money comes, you know, if you have a long-term project you've done and you've really, you know, explored it, you have all these diversities around the story, you'll pitch it and someone will take it on. So I think the whole issue of clients is like, if you're really intentional about your work, focus on creating stuff and creating that style that's, you know, you, because most of the time with the client's work is you're not going to use it. Yeah. You'll probably post one picture or two on Instagram or Twitter and that's it. And it's going to end at that. But like when you have personal work, you have control over it in terms of presentation strategy, how you want to disseminate this project, who is your target audience and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
How do you find work? Speaking from my experience, not far from something that Andrew alluded to, I studied IT because I was told if I studied IT, I'll never fail to find a job. But I was also good in art. So what I took lightly is now what is sustaining me. So when I finished school and for 3 months I couldn't find a job, I couldn't find an IT job. And that is with all my connections put together, all the backdoor channels, tried everything, the front door, nothing. And my shoe was losing, you know, shape at the back here. I would leave the house tucked in, properly tucked in, very neat. By the time I'm coming back, gosh, I don't want to know. Until I felt like, you know what, enough of this, you know, moving around looking for work. I started doing more of what can relieve my stress, which was drawing. And eventually, during my vacations, that is Form 4 and Form 6, I took time to learn, to teach myself graphic design. And of course, photography came naturally, meaning that I don't show up in family photos because most times I'm the one taking the pictures. So I started by volunteering at my church, design for free, and also take pictures for free, because how I got into taking pictures was I needed pictures for my designs. So I would put a design there, take the pictures that match what I'm trying to convey. And after 1 month, one of the church members saw what I'd done and they offered me work. And then I stopped looking for an IT job. I now started, I became a full-time photographer and graphic designer. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that two things. Andrew talked about looking online and seeing what the kind of clients you're looking for are doing. And then you can approach them and talk to them about how you can give them better. Yeah, and that is something that I did. So after that one client, I started now, I would look up clients that I want to do work for, see what they have, come and do mock-ups, go and show them. If it's food, I would cook the food. If I was designing a menu, cook the food and then do a few shots of the food and then design the menu and then print it out. So I go for a meeting with actually, I would even look for their logo. So I have a product that actually speaks to their brand. Now, when I shot a lot of weddings, I got to a point where I realized that there are some weddings that are stressful. There are some weddings that are easygoing. I realized that people who high-end, for lack of a better word, I realized that I was shooting so much because I was taking on all jobs, but also because my price list was low. And then I realized that, and then also those are the people who over bargain, are the ones who have so many instructions, They're trying to dictate what you shoot. It's a photo moment here. Capture this one. Cameraman, come. Fast take this one. Fast take. It was so stressful. So I decided to increase my prices so that I can attract only people who can afford. By that time, of course, my pictures are now beautiful. So wedding photography, people look for beautiful pictures. Yeah. I'm saying this because I'm trying to drive to something. How do you, and Andrew alluded to something about, is it Andrew or that you get clients who try to force you to shoot a certain way or to communicate in a way that you're not comfortable with. So if you're starting out, what should you do to make sure that you get your dream client? Post pictures that communicate your style, but also communicates to the language that your dream client probably is looking for. So only posts personal projects that speak of how you feel in terms of how you're trying to express yourself. Because if you copy for example, you look at a picture online, say, let me try this out, and then you post it, and then you get a client who's in love with that kind of style, and it's not what you are comfortable with, you'll have a hard time. So post the kind of pictures you would love to shoot, and then you'll attract the right kind of clients. Those days when I was starting out, it was unthinkable for me to give away clients. As long as they have the money or the work is there, I am going to shoot, regardless of what it is to shoot.
Yeah.
So these days I decide the kind of client I want to work with, because then I'll give the work my best instead of shooting for the money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't get caught in that trap of shooting for the money by taking every job that comes, but also place yourself strategically to attract the kind of clients that you're looking for by posting the kind of pictures that communicates who you are as a person or as a storyteller.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think both questions that were asked from the audience tie to one of the questions that I have. We're wrapping this up, so we have only 2 extra questions. And that's regarding output and then your clientele. Because this is storytelling, and there are certain realities that need the money and chasing the bag versus telling the story. And most people would tell you that it's easier to get the other type of client than the documentary photography client. So how have you guys addressed that issue? Let me say, you actually want to tell stories. We have heard from Stuart is talking about how long-term projects will help you get that story. And then, but then how do you, because now the long-term story has to first get done, probably. In that moment when you're telling that, how do you keep on track of telling those stories while everything else in the background is happening? I don't know if I'm clear. Yes. How have you guys done it, or how do you do it? Because at the end of the day, you need the money. Thanks.
Like I said, it comes back to your intentions. What I do is I'm very particular with the client I want to take on. And before I do the assignment, they have to be aware of what I can deliver and what I can't, and how far I can go, depending. I had someone giving me work sometime, and it was a hunger project. And, they wanted to see, it was in a refugee camp, and then they wanted to see kids, but they wanted to actually show the kids in their, in their state when they're, hungry and what. I get it where they're coming from. They're trying to probably pitch to their donors and stuff. But like I say, develop a code of conduct. So what I do is I take on assignments that favor me. Sometimes it's not about the money. They could be paying peanuts, but you look at how that work adds onto your portfolio. I mean, milk those chaps as much as you can, man. There are clients who who call you for a job and they're calling you for something that kind of relates to the project you're doing. I don't know if that makes sense. And exactly what Andrew said, post the work that you want your clients to. So if you post a lot of work on minority issues, an NGO is going to call you up that does stories like that. So you kind of incorporate like that into your personal work. You do their stuff, the stuff that they need, but you pick certain things that you can add into your personal work. So for me, that's how it works.
Okay, thank you very much. Andrew?
Balancing business clients and documentary clients. When we came out of
Balancing the business side and continue to tell like stories, passion projects.
When we came out of the mentorship, actually during the mentorship, the mentors would always speak about balancing your business side and your storytelling side. And in my experience, I don't know about other guys, I've come to realize that photojournalism or storytelling is underappreciated by our locally established NGOs or farms. And I've only been hired once or twice to actually do a story. And they're like, we want a story on this, and you have this much time. So I have the creative, freedom to tell the story my way. And in my 7 years of doing photography, I've only gotten 2 assignments like that. And most clients will do what Stuart hates to do. We want 7 pictures, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Of course, we do that work, but we don't post it because it doesn't speak to who we are. We do it for the money. Yep. But I've also tried and succeeded to change a client because, like I said, some clients don't know what they want until they see it. So because they see UNICEF posting certain pictures, they also want to be like UNICEF, and they'll start like an NGO and they want such pictures. So it's you to sit down with them as a creative and they're like, okay, guys, fine, you're going to get your pictures that you want, but this is another way that we can do it. How about we make a photo story about one of your beneficiaries, like this, like this, like this, like this. If it's about hunger, we can do a story around the subject. If it's about FGM, we can do a story around that. Some of them buy in, some of them don't, but they'll still keep giving you the other, scripted kinds of pictures. But you need to keep on trying. And I've done personal stories, which I've put on my website, and some of them I've done for clients. And a client who wants a story will come for a story. I had a website in 2019 which had certain stories, and a client specifically reached out to me and said in the email, quote unquote, I'm particularly interested in your stories section on your website. Okay. Even when you have the gallery which has all these amazing best of works, she emails you and she tells you, I'm particularly interested in your story page. And I want us to have a discussion around this because I want to do something for this. Okay. So the client who wants the stories will come, but you need to put the stories out there.
Okay.
And even if they know that they want them, then you need to pitch it to them so that they can buy in.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you could try to pitch to them the idea, or Giovanni, how do you deal with having to do everything else that brings in the money and yet still tell stories? What if the stories are not, they don't have a client, how do you still proceed to actually tell them, and it not being a mentorship thing, you're like, okay, I created a story, then, okay, now reality has struck, let me move on. Yeah.
You'll always find time to tell a story. There's a story I'm trying to tell from my phone because I've been telling it to myself. So now I'm actually doing something about it. So because I travel a lot, I see a lot of things, and now I've decided to do something about it and use my phone and not wait for because sometimes the camera is parked in the back, but the phone is close by. Yeah. So it's a long-term story that I'm working on. Hopefully by next year it will see the light of day. But yeah, Stuart said something that you, while doing an assignment, you still have the opportunity to do your own story out of that. That you have opportunities to notice something that relates to what you're actually working on, and just add that into your bag to build onto the body of your story. So there's something that I used to hear a lot. Where I used to tell myself, "Oh, I've missed that moment. I've missed that moment." But every day there are similar moments that are happening around you if you pay attention. Yeah. So there's, and sometimes you put yourself in harm's way to get a moment or to get a shot because you want to add that particular moment to your story. I think someone told me not to lose my life for the, just to get a moment. So every other day around us, things are happening that actually speak directly to the ideas that we have. Could be directly or indirectly. We just have to be self-aware. As you're looking for money, to also doing work for money, to find space to make stories, to add to our stories. But back then, my friends and I had created a closed photographers travel group. So whenever we travel, one of my colleagues, for him, his camera will be in his hands. So he just keeps shooting through the window, keeps shooting. So after the third trip, I would see now when he shares the pictures that he shot while we're actually in motion, were actually very nice pictures. So since that time, as long as I'm not driving and I have my camera with me, I'm always looking for something to shoot. And it's something that I shoot based on how that speaks to me. That when I put it out there, it is exactly what I'm trying to say, and not what a client told me I should say it that way or something like that. Yeah, so I think that space is there to create a balance between work and also being able to be yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very insightful. And our last question, in regard to mentorships, other than the mentorship, like other than the UPPA mentorship, what's your general take on mentorships, whether in photography or any other practice, business or design? Yeah, and then we could wrap it up from there. We could start with Stuart. Yeah, your take on mentorships in general.
I think mentorships are, I would say, maybe better than your class lessons and stuff like that, because they prepare you for the real life stuff, the stuff they don't tell you at school, the stuff they don't tell you at home, you know. So mentorship kind of shapes you up, helps you know your aspirations, but also it helps you identify yourself, like what do I like, or this is what I want to go for. But also mentorship is really like a way of investing in knowledge. I think that's one of the most important things that we need to adopt as photographers, is invest in knowledge. You know, we spend a lot of time photographing, and sometimes we forget that, oh, I need to learn certain things. You know, today I'm learning that as a photographer, you can just rely on photography. You need to learn how to write. You know, you need to learn how to to use sound? How do you use sound in your work? How do you incorporate video in your photography? So, you know, just investing in knowledge and yeah, identifying yourself. So I think mentorships are very important for us as artists, especially.
Yeah, thank you very much. We could hear from Andrew. Probably also answer why you still chose to continue with the mentorship, even when you had the choice to not proceed because this is not something you had paid for. So you could share us your general take on mentorship and why you chose to proceed even when it was difficult. Briefly.
Why I chose to proceed, that is very easy. I chose to proceed because I knew that I wasn't where I wanted to be. And it was very clear. Because all the photographers that I looked up to, I wasn't doing work near what they were doing. And I struggled to figure out what they were doing special. And the mentorship kind of offered clarity in that sense. General take on mentorship is mentorship as a whole is that in every field, I know in every field that you're in, you need to surround yourself with people that are already where you want to be and not just sit among them, but interact with them. Even if you think you already know, it is okay to learn what you already know. I mean, you know, even if you think you already know. So I think that's my general take on mentorship, that you need to surround yourself with people. And I've been in spaces where we did a mentorship last year, the Seven Foundation in Kigali. And I see this guy that have been following for about 6 years. He's in Afghanistan, Iraq, what. So I'm in the same room with him, and I've been wanting to meet him all this time. I don't know what to say. I'm like, okay, what do I tell this guy? But I love his work, you know? But it being a mentorship, man, dude comes to me, he's like, hey, you, let me see your work, you know? Let me see, let's have a conversation. So mentorship kind of offers that space, that it's not going to be a weird conversation where you're like starstruck and, you know, the guy is actually there and he's willing to teach you.
Yes.
So I feel like it is the best space for you, where you're not just surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to go, but you're learning from them. Yeah,
okay.
That is my take on mentorship.
Yeah, thank you very much. And lastly, from Giovanni.
If I'd started from where you guys started from in my early journey of photography, I think let me use, I would be one of the baddest. The way I started in photography, I used to get, whenever I had a job, I would get my photographer friends to go and shoot for me. So I pay them for, you know. And then one day I took on this job and all my friends were busy. I couldn't send anyone. So I had to do the thing myself. And I did a horrible job that to this day, I look at that work and get goosebumps. Yeah. But if I started off as a mentee, whoa, the things in being a mentor, I've indirectly also been a mentee, that I've learned how things are done properly by actually participating in some of the activities. Now, over time, the skills I've honed have come from either photographing with my friends, shadowing my friends, or interacting with people that I admire, ask them questions. So the mentorship program is a more organized way of harnessing, for example, communication skills, camera skills, writing skills. Yes. Within the same space, the same breadth. Compared to picking one from here, the other from there, another one from there. Yeah. So a structured mentorship program is something that all of us need. And when you go through one doesn't mean that that's it. I mean, yeah, now you're good. There's always room to learn. So learning never stops. You need to harvest as much knowledge as possible. You can harvest knowledge from watching a movie about, like, I try and watch, even when the movie starts as boring, any movie about photography, I try and watch it and see what can I learn from this, even when it is 30 minutes down the road and I still don't get it. Yeah. I used to buy just books of stories, and now I buy books about photography, because our culture in Uganda always looked at photographers as cameraman. The guy who comes, I grew up in the village, who comes to your village once, I think a month or something like that, Sunday, when you put on your Sunday best, they take your picture, you don't even see the results, you first pay a deposit, and you wait, you wait for the picture to come back. And now things are getting better. There's access to information. Those days, a lot of NGO work was done by white photographers. Yeah, but now you get a phone call from an NGO and they are calling you because they want to hire you for work. So the ground is becoming ripe for us, especially us, the young people, to replace the generation of cameramen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only way to get there is through programs like the mentorship program, where you learn from people who are walking that journey or have been through that journey. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And maybe my last add to that is that mentorships are really very generous in the sense that you have this opportunity to actually learn so much more about things that you just loved before. Because yeah, photography for me was something I loved, and after doing a 5-year course, there's no way I was going to now enroll for another photography course. But then, like, I've had those gaps, maybe, yeah, when we had this COVID period, and then, or yeah, and the beauty is that these sessions are always like, it's either like one day, half a day, a week, something like that. I have gotten to learn the craft of photography at a deeper level, to a point whereby if I like worked harder, I could even be qualified to be a professional photographer. It's it's all been through mentorships, and most cases all they're asking for is for your commitment. Most of it's just people who feel like, I suffered through figuring out everything on my own, and now I don't want the others to really go through the same thing. So for me, that's like one of the best things that mentorships are for. It's like people who train creative businesses. I mean, Motive is doing it right now, and then you get to learn all those things. Sometimes, photography as a course can be very pricey. And now if you have an opportunity to actually have people who are the best in the field teach you, I think it would be like something great to take on. So yeah, thank you very much, Giovanni, Andrew, and Stuart, for sharing with us your views on mentorship and the double side. So anyone is that a question? Yes, please.
My name is Joshua Mwanguzi. And you've spoken of a double something you have to balance. But okay, to us, it seems we have a triple. Because we have, if I'm an artist and I love sculpting, I love painting, I love photography. So I'd like to know from maybe Jovan's perspective and everyone that how do you balance that? Because you say that you sometimes did graphic designing, and then you also do commercial photography, and then you also do documentary. So how do you get time for all of that? Thank you so much.
Thank you. To Giovanni.
How do I get all of that? Is I position myself in a way that when I get a client, for example, let me give you an example. A friend of mine had a restaurant, but the menu was crappy. The food was very tasty. So one day I go with my camera because he says, come and check out my food. So I go, take some pictures of the food. I come back and I design for him a menu. And then I actually take pictures of the menu that he had done. And then I use the same, everything, even the prices and everything, and redesign something. So what am I trying to say is that I do not do graphic design here and then go and do photography there and then here. I look at it as a project. So if it's work that is graphic design oriented, definitely has aspects of photography in it as well. So I combine those so that in my pitch, when I'm looking for a client, I look for a client who has those two needs. Yeah, so I'm able to fulfill those two needs at the same time. Sometimes, and that comes from, again, positioning yourself. You either pitch it or position. One of the biggest ways of, or the best ways of getting business is through word of mouth. When people say, Andrew is a bad guy, he's a very serious photographer. So when you go saying that, everyone will say, I had Andrew, yeah. So when that need arises, people recommend that, you said you're a sculptor,
yeah,
photographer, and a painter. There is a movie that what is it called? It's not the photographer. It's a Netflix movie. Sorry, I forget the name of the movie. But this guy was a painter and a photographer. The only weird thing is he would paint naked because that helps with his creative or something. So I've heard of something called mixed media. Yeah. So how can you blend your painting with pictures or even sculpture? Yeah. I don't know if Andrew and Stuart have. I've not interfaced with mixed media, so I cannot honestly. I just know that it sounds like you know how you say Katogo and
well,
yeah, but it's something I can explore.
We actually have
sorry. I think it really comes to what your intentions are, but I think, like you said, mixed media, it's the thing today. Like people are doing photography project, but has some sculpting in it and all that. So if you're doing it in that line, nice. But if you're on vibes, like you're doing sculpture designs and you go designs and you need to focus because all these things need a lot of time. And like sculpture is crazy, man. Like people sit down and like learn how to carve that stuff. So if you're doing it as mixed media, nice. Yeah.
We actually have two photographers you could talk to, Cairo and Joshua here. he has done a mixed media project before. Joshua is a sculptor and photographer, so I think they would best like throw light on that. But then also what I could tell you is professionally I do architecture, and one of the things I had that struggle. I still have it even today because for me photography was always a passion. So what I have resorted to doing is photography is it's a medium through which I get to explore so much about my architecture. Because like there are so many questions and so much to show in architecture that you won't find in books and everything, yeah? Because when you're to see anything about architecture, it's always from the foreign places. But when you say, let me read about architecture in Uganda, that's something that's lacking. So I was like, I'll just use my photography to actually build more onto my architecture. So in that way, I get to learn through the photography, and I'm not losing out on like any of the sides, because the things I find out through investigating through photography, I can apply in my design. So you can always find a way to actually see how you can use your photography to empower these other mediums. Joshua uses his photography to tell the stories of his sculpturing processes. So yeah.
Just
Time. Okay. All right.
I think he was, I don't know if I was saying it as a project or as a profession. Like you one guy who puts it all together.
Oh, okay.
Like but my advice would be that I run a photography space for hire, and we work with different photographers. And I have tried to do what you're doing. But one thing I'll tell you is that if you're a master of none and you do all of them, you're going to lose at all of them. Because you're going to come to photography and you'll find the stewards who sleep and breathe photography, and they'll beat you. And you'll go to sculpting and you'll find people like maybe Cairo who do it 24/7, and they'll beat you. And then you'll go to painting and you'll find the Da Vinci's, and and they sleep and breathe that. So you're literally going to be a mediocre at all of them. So me, I would advise that you become a master of one and you focus and invest your time in that. Because I noticed so many photographers who are like, I have a day job, but me, I'll only book gigs on Saturdays. And then you look at his work and he has no time for research. He has no time to edit. He has no time to pick inspiration because his boss is sending him kind regards, see attached. Like, it's no sooner, therefore. So I think you need to focus. You discover yourself.
Focus, yeah.
And just focus on one thing. Like, I had a job and photography was paying me more than my job, but I had this thing in my mind because we've grown up, our parents telling us, when you graduate, go and do a responsible job, blah, blah, all that wahala. I realized, no, like, it just can't work. Until I left my job, I never actually, my photography career was not making sense. And getting to start applying for UPPA mentorships and actually doing research and buying books was because I had the time on my hands and because I really, really, really wanted to make it. And that's why Strive Masiwa always says plan B is very bad. Now, for you have a plan A, a B, and a C, and a D. You get plan B is very bad because it will drain your energy that you would have spent on plan A and just dividing it to see all these things work. So I would advise that you just pick one that you're really good at and be a master of it. Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This was great.